Hey everyone, thanks for joining me on the live stream this evening. I'm just getting my old ducks in a row here and I'll be right with you. Gonna get this live stream link shared on all of our social media. For those just joining, we're just kicking off the live stream here at 6:40. We have no severe weather imminent right now, but we're gonna kick off a live stream just to make sure we have everything up and running in case a storm were to turn strong or severe. So let's do that. And let's do that. And I think we are ready to go. All right, hey everyone who's watching on Facebook or YouTube or on the Storm Tracker 21 app, wfmj.com/weather. We're joining you just after the 6 p.m. newscast on this Wednesday evening to cover the possibility that some showers and some storms may get a little bit feisty. I'm not sure how long we'll do this live stream. We're going to get it up and running and see how things progress over the next half an hour or so. We may be able to cut it off at that point if it looks like severe weather is not going to happen, but the potential is there for a couple of feisty showers and storms to impact parts of our area before the evening is through. If you've been following the weather this week, we've been talking about how the severe weather risk overall today would be highest south and west of Youngstown, more towards east central Ohio, northwest Ohio, places like that. And even in those places, we haven't had a tremendous amount of severe weather just yet today. So we are keeping an eye on things, and we're going to keep you covered this evening no matter what happens. So let's get right to the details. This is the radar picture as of, let's see, it's 6:43. Zooming in on our local area, there's not much going on. We've had a beautiful evening so far in parts of the area. We've had some nice rainbows, thanks to everyone who's been sharing rainbow pictures with us on social media and via email. I just looked at my email, and I've got a whole bunch of pictures that have been sent in. If you want to send in weather pictures anytime, weather PICS, weather pics, PICS at WFMJ.com. You can also submit those right on the Storm Tracker 21 app. So yeah, not much has gone on so far. We've had a couple of rumbles of thunder from Columbiana County into western PA earlier on. Now looking off to our west, we do have several clusters of showers and storms around the I-77 corridor right now, from New Philly up to Canton, up towards Akron. All of this is sub-severe. We have one warned storm closer to Mansfield along I-71. This includes the Perrysville area, and this is in effect for one more minute. It'll probably be discontinued at that point. We've had a couple of tornado warnings this afternoon and early this evening in southeast Ohio. This is where the environment has been most favorable for not only just general severe weather, but tornadic activity as well. So south of Interstate 70, down towards Athens, into the Parkersburg, Marietta area, across the state line into West Virginia. And we have a couple of active severe thunderstorm warnings down there. Those look like hail-producing storms down in that part of the region. Now, the setup today has been kind of interesting. Our ears really perked up and our eyes perked up, I should say, or got bigger when we saw some of the data a couple of days ago showing a tremendous amount of wind shear across the area today. And what we mean by that is wind shear being the changing of the wind direction and the wind speed with height through the atmosphere. So if you have a southeast wind down here where we are at the ground level, but upstairs, say 5,000 feet, you got a southwest wind, that's a different wind direction, not far above our heads, and you can create some motion, some turbulence in the atmosphere as a result, and then updrafts can take advantage of that horizontal rotation and turn it into vertical rotation, and then you start getting the possibility of tornadic activity. That's basically what wind shear is all about. That's one of the ingredients when it comes to severe weather. Another ingredient is instability, the ability for air parcels to just keep on rising and getting higher in the sky, building those thunderheads taller in the sky, and you can maximize your updrafts when the atmosphere is real unstable. And for the atmosphere to be real unstable, generally speaking, you need it to be pretty warm and even pretty humid as well. That makes those air parcels really buoyant, really light. They can just keep on going. If the air is not sufficiently warm and or humid, then the air parcels have a harder time just continuing to rise. Pretty marginal instability across the area today. It hasn't been very high, especially in far northeast Ohio, northwest PA. The dew point temperatures here locally are still in the 40s. That's not a very moist air mass. No, the dew points are higher to our south and west, closer to Columbus, closer to the I-70 corridor, southeast Ohio, again down towards Athens. That's where the atmosphere is a little bit more primed. Also, we've had some sunshine from time to time, not only in our area, but in this more unstable air mass in southeast Ohio. That's why overall, the risk for severe weather has been higher to our south and to our southwest. But because of all the wind shear in modest instability today, the Storm Prediction Center, part of the National Weather Service, did hoist a tornado watch for a good chunk of eastern Ohio and far western PA and the West Virginia Panhandle. That's every color in red, or every county in red, I should say. And that includes, in our viewing area, Mahoning County and Columbiana County as well. So those are the two counties in our television viewing area that are under the tornado watch, and this watch runs until 10 o'clock this evening. It includes also, outside of our viewing area, Stark County, Tuscarawas County, Carroll County, Jefferson and Hancock counties to our south, and Beaver County in western PA. Again, that tornado watch runs until 10. They may be able to discontinue that a little bit early. We'll see how things progress as we go through the evening. All right, so let's put a little motion on the radar here and show you what direction things are moving. I'm going to not plot up the warnings, just show you the plain old radar here, and we'll put an hour loop on this. Yeah, you can see everything's kind of moving southwest to northeast and at a pretty good clip. We're not real concerned about flooding this evening because of the fast movement of these showers and storms. As you can see, there's not a tremendous amount of lightning. If we had a lot of lightning, you'd be seeing those lightning symbols, the plus signs indicating the positive voltage lightning. You don't see a lot of that across eastern Ohio, western PA, the panhandle of West Virginia. There's been some occasional flashes of lightning, but nothing all that crazy. And yeah, we're kind of seeing a lack of lightning, and that just sort of shows you kind of the real meager, middling instability in the atmosphere today. If you can't get thunderheads to get real high in the sky, you don't get things mashing around and bumping into each other and causing the friction and static electricity that makes lightning happen. If you don't get a lot of hailstones and raindrops and other stuff hitting each other in those clouds, it gets harder for static electricity to build up and for a discharge to happen, and that, of course, is lightning. Way away from our area, but my eyes are certainly drawn down to southeast Ohio, where I think there's probably some pretty good hail in some of these warned storms right now, south of Interstate 70. So you can see where these warnings are and the kind of orange polygons, and then those streaks, those yellow streaks, are the hail streaks. One in West Virginia, one in southeast Ohio, close to Ohio University, down near the Athens area. That's kind of the only game in town right now as far as legitimate severe weather across our region. Northern Ohio, occasional showers and some lightning and thunder here and there, but again, nothing all that crazy as we speak. Taking a look at some of the comments here. Thanks to everyone for chiming in. We've got a pretty good crowd tonight. Of course, usually the biggest crowd is on Facebook, but if you're watching on YouTube, I appreciate everyone there too. Ashley mentioning it's windy in Sharpsville, PA. Chrissy mentioning it's getting dark in Meanderwood. Nothing going on in Columbiana, reports Lillian. And yeah, depending on where you are, it's been pretty quiet evening so far, but it may not stay that way. At the very least, even if we don't get severe weather this evening, most of us are going to get wet, and you can have some puffs of wind with this for sure. We could see some gusts of 30 to 40 miles per hour, especially when showers are pushing through, and the coverage of these showers and storms will continue to increase as we head towards sunset here at about 45 minutes and beyond that as well. Again, we had a couple of nice rainbows earlier on, including one that was visible from our camera here in Columbiana. The banner says Niles, but this is Columbiana. Our other active camera right now is our Boardman Camera. Again, the banner's wrong, but this is our Boardman Camera overlooking Southern Park Mall. You can see the camera shaking a little bit as the wind is picking up here in the Boardman area. I had it pointing east-southeast earlier to catch that rainbow after some rain pushed through the area. We had some very, very nice rainbows. We've been talking all week about the severe weather risk being highest to the south and west of Youngstown, and included in today's risks, that low-end tornado risk. And, whenever we talk about these tornado risk numbers, they're always pretty small, right? 2%, 5%, it's a pretty small number, right? Well, when you consider an average late March day in our region, the chances of a tornado is pretty close to 0%. If you have a 2 or a 5% chance of a tornado within 25 miles of any location, that is orders of magnitude higher than a typical late March day. So especially when we get into that 5% zone. That really gets our attention. And so the outlook today from the Storm Prediction Center did include an area of a 5% tornado risk that included Mansfield, Columbus, even as far east as Dover, New Philly, down to Athens, down to Cambridge, at Zanesville, Parkersburg, Marietta, and then in our viewing area, a 2% contour extending as far east as, say, the Salem area, Lisbon, West Point, East Liverpool. And as we've been talking about, the farther north and east you are, the lower the severe weather risk is. It's just too cool and stable as you get off to the north and east. If you're watching us from Mercer County this evening, anywhere around I-79 and points east, your severe weather risk is very low over there. It's not that high to the west of there, but especially once you're into western PA and east of I-79 especially, your risk is just not all that high. So the risk is with us for a few hours this evening. I'm going to probably say we're out of the woods by mid-evening, 9:30, 10 at the latest. We should be out of the woods. The risks this evening, just about all modes of severe weather remain possible, even if the chances are on the low end of things. This is not a big outbreak, but on the lower end of things. But anything could happen this evening, including isolated tornadoes, some strong winds, and even some hail. Looks like hail is having a hard time getting going in most spots, so I'm not real concerned about impactful hail. There's a big difference between little pea-sized hail that's like, oh, cool, there's hail, I'll take a picture of that, and big hail, like golf ball-sized hail. That's the kind of hail that can be impactful. It can dent things and cause problems. We're not expecting that kind of a hail threat out there this evening. So, again, a few hours where we have to stay weather aware this evening. All right, so this may be kind of, just a dry run for the spring and summer severe weather season. If not much happens this evening, we'll be thankful for that, but we'll also be thankful for it being kind of a reminder, and this goes hand in hand with Severe Weather Awareness Week this week in the state of Ohio. Nice reminder to have an action plan if severe weather threatens your location, and have multiple ways of getting warnings, whether they be severe thunderstorm warnings, tornado warnings, flash flood warnings. You want to have multiple redundant ways of getting those warnings. And here's some of the best ways. I know most people in our part of the country don't have a Noaa weather radio. If you do, great. I wish more people did. These are pretty inexpensive, $20-$30. You can get them on Amazon. You can get them in some Walmarts. You can get them in some hardware stores like Lowe's and Home Depot and places like that. Very easy to set up and very super reliable. They don't rely on cell phone signals. They can run on battery power if you lose power. And it's really the number one way to get warnings in your home or business. It's also something in our climate that a lot of people don't have. These are more common in the south and in the middle of the country where tornadoes are a little more common. But you can also always have the Storm Tracker 21 app. It's a free download. We've had this app for 5 years now. If you haven't downloaded it, be sure and download the Storm Tracker 21 app. We really put a lot of time and effort into the content in that app. You can track things on the interactive radar. You can set up the push alerts to notify you on your device if a warning is issued for your location. Speaking of your smart devices, whether it be your phone or your iPad, but especially your phone that has a cell signal, wireless emergency alerts. If you dig into your settings and notifications, whether you have an iPhone or an Android device, you can find WEA, wireless emergency alerts. Make sure those are activated. Don't turn those off, especially during severe weather season. In addition to severe weather alerts, you can get Amber alerts via wireless emergency alerts on your phone, and those are always good to get if there's a child that's missing or in danger. The more people that know about that, the better. So I always recommend people have that turned on. And of course, television, I know my head's covering a little bit of this information at the bottom, but television, good old-fashioned TV, if there's warnings out, we put them on the corner of the screen. Live streaming coverage. If we have tornado warnings, we'll be live on TV. Live streaming coverage. Some of you are even watching this coverage right now on your device on digital platforms such as YouTube and Facebook. You'll notice I do not have listed on here tornado sirens. If you've been following me for many years, you know that's kind of one of my pet peeves. Hey, it's the 21st century. We should not be relying on tornado sirens as kind of our number one way of getting warnings. Tornado warnings, they're unreliable. They're set off by local officials, and each municipality and local official might have a different idea as to when they should set these things off. They're not designed to be heard indoors and never have been. Did I mention they're old and outdated? This is basically World War II technology. And could it be your fourth or fifth way of getting warnings? Sure. But there are many better ways, including ways that don't depend on a cell signal. You don't have to have a smartphone to get alerted via a Noaa weather radio. So I'm gonna, keep harping on this as much as I can. We live in a part of the country in which severe weather is not as common as some others. And a lot of people have not warmed up to this idea that, hey, sirens are not the be-all, end-all. You should not base decisions on whether or not you hear a siren. If you don't hear one, or if you hear one, you shouldn't really base what you do just on that piece of information alone. You should have many other pieces of information. All right, before we get back to the radar, I mentioned this on the 6 o'clock news this evening. This is the time of the year in which we start to see an uptick in our thunderstorm days, including the possibility of severe weather. Now, we're far from the heart of severe weather season. It's still March after all. We've got a little snow in the forecast for the upcoming weekend. This is not the time of the year that we have a lot of severe weather, but the number of thunderstorm days does start to tick up in March. Really starts to ramp up by late April and into May, and kind of peaks early to midsummer, June and July, while the thunderstorm days kind of peak in July. Overall, the number of severe weather days probably peaks a little earlier than that. You get more bang for your buck, if you will, with thunderstorms in May and June. We have more heavy rain events in July a lot of times than we have wind and tornado threats. By then, that sort of stuff is starting to wind down some, and the number of thunderstorm days does start to decrease pretty rapidly by late summer and into early in the fall. Alrighty, so the radar remains pretty quiet this evening. Just checking my other sources off screen here. I've got my National Weather Service chat open. This is where television meteorologists, emergency managers can have a direct pipeline into the products and services issued by the National Weather Service offices that cover our area. So I have that open off screen. Sometimes you'll hear a noise off screen that might sound like a doorbell or an alarm of some kind. That's the National Weather Service issuing a new product. So they are not indicating that any new severe thunderstorm warnings are imminent for our area. Off to the west towards I-77, this is where the highest coverage of showers and storms is right now. But as you can see, there's not a lot of lightning and thunder with this. When we look at the wind data off the Cleveland National Weather Service radar, and as we get out of winter and into the spring season, just a reminder of what some of these colors mean. This is not the traditional radar that shows rain, but this is tracking the wind direction and the wind speed. The brighter the green colors, and more bright green and blue, those are stronger winds that are blowing away from the Cleveland National Weather Service radar. I should say toward, not away. Toward. See, even I'm a little rusty. Those are winds blowing towards the Cleveland National Weather Service radar. So the greens and teals. Once you get into the red colors and the really strong winds transition from red to yellow, then you're talking about winds that are blowing away from the radar source. And as you can see, we don't have a lot of wind around our region right now. It's breezy, but nothing crazy. Some stronger winds with some of the activity out towards I-77 in Tuscarawas County, Stark County, up into Summit County as well. But all that is pretty sub-severe right now. So when we show a map like this, we're showing the wind speed and the wind direction as well. So when you see us showing a map like that, that's what we're talking about. You know, another good reminder while we're talking about maps, as we get into severe weather season, you know, we like people to have a general idea as to where there are, because our coverage of severe weather, you know, it's map-based. We're going to show you a bunch of maps. And so while we don't expect everyone to be a geography expert, and certainly we don't expect you to know as much as we do about geography of our area and everything else, just a general understanding of where you are on a map, what county you're in, what interstates you're close to, what landmarks you're close to, that's a good thing to know, so that when we start calling out counties and locations, maybe you'll have a general idea as to where we're talking about in relation to where you are, because we can't name and call out every single community. And a lot of severe weather coverage, a lot of the comments are, what about this place? What about this place? What about this place? What about this place? And we just can't name every city in our viewing area, even though our viewing area is not real big. We just can't do it. And so we name what we can. And what we ask of the audience then is to kind of extrapolate a little bit, based on some of the towns and cities we are calling out. Extrapolate a little bit. If you live in Girard and we say Youngstown, those cities are pretty close. So if we say storms are coming into Youngstown at, say, pick a time, 7 o'clock, you could, if you're in Girard, just because we didn't say Girard, you can kind of infer from that that about 7 o'clock is when storms will come into your area. So you get the idea. We can't, we can't call out every name. So where you are on a map is important. If you're knowing that you're close to Interstate 80 or Route 422 or the Turnpike or Route 11 or Route 30, all these places. If you're knowing that you're close to some of those places, help us out in our, in our ability to communicate clearly what we're talking about, where things are going, and things like that. The National Weather Service in Pittsburgh noting a strong thunderstorm, sub-severe, down towards Belmont, Guernsey, Monroe, Muskingum, and Noble County. So that's a sub-severe storm that the NWS in Pittsburgh is keeping an eye on down here, closer to southeast Ohio. Again, probably some hail with these. Down towards Athens, south west of Cambridge, south of Zanesville. All this is sub-severe right now, closer to our TV viewing area. Pretty good downpour right now around the Canton area. Some localized bouts of heavy rain. Akron, heading up towards wine country, up into the primary snowbelts of Lake Geauga and Ashtabula counties. The back edge of this cluster of showers and storms is a pretty sharp cutoff. It's right here. Now it's mostly east of Columbus. Let me strip off the warnings here. The back edge is mostly east of Columbus as far as the severe weather risk, it looks like at this point. So there's the motion of everything. So the highest concentration of showers and storms is now basically between, say, just east of Columbus to around I-77. So basically I-71 to I-77, and all this is pushing east at a pretty good clip out there this evening. Again, if you're just joining us, thanks for tuning in. We started this live stream about 20 minutes ago. We're going to hang with it for a little while longer to see if anything is going to pop up across our region. If you're just joining us, a tornado watch is in effect for our parts of our television viewing area, every county in red, including Mahoning County and Columbiana County. That tornado watch runs until 10 p.m. We have no active warnings. We have no tornado warnings. We have no severe thunderstorm warnings for our TV viewing area, but we got this live stream up and running just so it was there in case we started to see some warnings popping up, because it takes a few minutes to get these live streams up and running on Facebook, YouTube, and our digital channels, our apps, and our website, things like that. So we got the live stream up and running, even though we have no active warnings for our area. We have that severe thunderstorm watch that runs until 10 o'clock. Got a couple of comments, couple of questions in the comment section. Hey, are we under a tornado warning? Are we under some sort of warning? And the answer to that is again no. And one way to find out for sure if you're under a warning or not, make sure you have the Storm Tracker 21 app downloaded. If you are under a warning, you will get notified. Make sure you have those push alerts set up on your Storm Tracker 21 app. But yeah, no warnings right now. We have that severe thunderstorm watch until 10 for every county in red. Outside of our viewing area, it includes all of our kind of border counties to the south and to the west and to the east. So Stark County, Carroll County, Hancock and Jefferson counties, and Beaver County. Lawrence County, Mercer County, Trumbull County, Portage County, you are not under the tornado watch. As we've been talking about all week, the severe weather risk lowers quite a bit the farther north and east you are. It's pretty marginal in our TV viewing area as a whole, but it becomes pretty low once you're into western PA, especially over towards I-79 in Mercer and Lawrence counties. Someone mentioning on Facebook sirens going off in Mahoning County coming from the Poland area. Yeah, I don't know what that's about. It is not weather related, or it shouldn't be anyway. If you're hearing sirens right now somewhere in Mahoning County, I don't know why that is, but you have no imminent severe weather and certainly no risk of a tornado anytime soon. And that's, I was just ranting about sirens 5 minutes ago. That's one of the reasons why sirens just are no good. We got to get away from the siren mentality. It can be your fourth or fifth way of getting warnings, but as you can see, sometimes they're set off for no reason. Sometimes they don't work when they should. They're not designed to be heard indoors, and never have been, and they're World War II technology, and World War II was a good 80 years ago at this point. So I won't keep ranting about sirens. If you've been watching for a while, you heard my rant earlier. But again, if you're hearing sirens in Poland right now, I just had someone comment on Facebook that they are hearing that. You should not be, and you are not in any sort of weather danger right now. As you can see on the radar, across our TV viewing area, we have a little bit of rain, especially west of Youngstown, but we have no lightning, no thunder, and no chance of severe weather in the very short term. Now, we're going to keep a very close eye over the next hour or two. And all this stuff to our west, all of it is sub-severe. None of it is producing large hail. None of this is producing damaging wind gusts. And some of it is producing some lightning, sure. But none of it is severe right now. That being said, there's so much wind shear in the atmosphere, the changing of wind direction and wind speed with height, that we have to watch this stuff. We can't sleep on it. We have to watch it just in case it takes anything takes advantage of that wind shear that's available, and you get a brief little spin up. Any spin ups, any rotation that might occur would probably be pretty brief, and the chances are higher of those kinds of spin ups to our south and west, closer to New Philly, closer to Holmes County, Muskingum County, Ohio, down towards Cambridge and Zanesville. But yeah, everything just bears watching because some of the ingredients are there. The wind shear is pretty impressive. The instability is not, so we don't have a super warm and humid air mass overhead. We have modest, kind of middling amounts of instability across our area, especially in our viewing area, and even to our south and west, the instability is not that high. But we got a lot of this. We got a lot of wind shear, and maybe a little bit too much wind shear. I mentioned this towards the beginning of the live stream if you watched earlier. It's kind of like you want, if you're interested in severe weather, you want kind of that Goldilocks amount of wind shear. You want enough that things can rotate and you can get some hail and maybe even some tornadic activity. Not that we're going to root for tornadoes, but if you're interested in seeing that kind of setup, you want enough wind shear, but you don't want too much wind shear, because if you have too much wind shear, if there's too much wind aloft, those strong winds can just rip apart the tops of thunderstorms, and so storms have a hard time maintaining themselves because they run into that river of fast-moving air aloft, and it's just too fast. The wind is too fast, and it kind of tears apart the storms. So I've speculated that maybe we have a little too much wind shear out there today. We have enough that it gets our attention and we have to pay attention to it. But maybe it's a little bit too much, and that's why this has been kind of an underwhelming event thus far. We have not seen, even in the areas that have had a higher risk than us, we have not seen a plethora of storm reports. You know, this is all pretty middling. Some hail reports here and there, from southeast Ohio up through some of the suburbs of Columbus, up towards northwest Ohio. But yeah, this is kind of a middling-looking map for a day that had the potential for a decent amount of severe weather. The Storm Prediction Center this morning updated their outlook for the region today. This is another good reminder of what these outlooks mean as we get into severe weather season. The scale is up here at the top, and we like you to pay more attention to the numbers than the terms, because slight and enhanced and moderate, all that kind of confuses a lot of people. More people can understand a 1 to 5 scale, and 5 being the highest end of the scale. We're almost never put under a 5 on this scale in our region. It's a little more common off to our west, from say western Ohio out towards the Corn Belt and down into the deep south, Mississippi, Alabama, places like that. So 5 is extremely rare around here. Even 4s are, a once a year thing, maybe at worst. We see a lot of 1s, 2s, and sometimes 3s around here. And today's risk overall was kind of that 2 on that 1 to 5 scale everywhere in yellow across parts of central Ohio, southeast Ohio, northwest Ohio, and then it was kind of a 1 on that 1 to 5 scale in a bigger chunk of our TV viewing area, and then it's kind of a 0 or sub 1 on that 1 to 5 scale once you're east of I-79 in western PA. So that's basically what these colors mean, what the scale means. We show these maps a lot during severe weather season, and again, pay more attention to the numbers. If you're under if you're in a 1 on that 1 to 5 scale, that does not mean that you shouldn't pay attention to the weather. It doesn't mean that severe weather is not going to happen. It just means the risk overall is towards the lower end of the scale. But it's not something we want you to take all that lightly, and certainly we want you to take it very seriously once we get up into some of these bigger numbers. When we get into the enhanced risk, the 3 on a 1 to 5 scale, and the very rare occasion in which we have a 4, a moderate risk, those are the big ticket weather days that we don't see around here very often, thankfully. But when we do, we really want you to pay attention to those kinds of days, because they don't happen very often around here. All right, so the Weather Service in Pittsburgh is going to issue a severe thunderstorm warning for that cell they were watching carefully in southeast Ohio, Belmont, Guernsey, Monroe, Muskingum, and Noble until 7:45. So there's that fresh severe thunderstorm warning. Again, this is pretty far away from our viewing area, but something we're going to watch. The severe thunderstorm warning just issued by the Pittsburgh Weather Service Office includes areas around Cambridge and mostly east of Athens. This includes Barnesville as well. Runs until 7:45. So this is down towards the I-70 corridor. So to get your bearings, here we are up here in our WFMJ television viewing area. The Wheeling area is down here. Steubenville over here. This is Cambridge. This is New Philly. Up here is Akron. And of course over here is Pittsburgh. And so this warning is for parts of southeast Ohio. Allison mentioning it's getting really windy in Grove City. Yeah, it's breezy, independent of any showers and storms out there this evening. I have someone in Niles also mentioning it's getting pretty windy out there. This is non-thunderstorm wind, generally pretty breezy, kind of windy here and there, but all of that is independent of thunderstorm activity, which is pretty much non-existent right now in our TV viewing area. So there you go. There's the current radar for our viewing area as of 7:12 this evening. While we have a moment, I'm going to go off camera for a second here and just do a quick social media post. So I'll be back with you on camera momentarily. If you're watching us on Facebook or YouTube, we're off camera for a moment. Just going to update our social media with a quick radar snapshot here. So pardon my typing in the background there, everyone. My wife makes fun of me for being a loud typer, and guilty as charged. I really... I remember being in middle school and high school and being in some class where we used computers, and the teacher thought I was crazy for how loud I typed. I like to hit those keys hard. Anyway, so just putting a quick post on social media while I have a chance. You know, a lot of times in these really busy severe thunderstorm and tornado warning situations, we don't have time to make regular social media posts because we're busy being on camera and being on TV. In a situation like this, I don't have any active warnings. I don't want to forget about our friends who aren't watching on social media and are just checking out their news feed. So I don't want to forget about them. Jason over in Slippery Rock, PA, mentioning it's a little windy over there. Tammy says, yeah, I'm a loud typer and a fast typer. I may be a fast typer. I'm not a good typer. I make a lot of mistakes. Sometimes those mistakes make it out onto social media. The spell check doesn't catch them. I may be fast, but not exactly accurate at times. And as I get older, I think I'm getting a little worse. Hopefully that does not continue. All right, so anyway, if you're just joining us on the live stream, we've been doing this for about a half an hour now. And the reason we got the live stream up and running is because the potential has been there for some feisty showers and some storms, and we wanted to get the live stream up and rolling so that it's running already in case we did have some severe weather to cover this evening. This has always been kind of a marginal situation in which it's not a slam dunk that we're going to have any severe weather at all, especially, again, in areas north and east of Youngstown over into western PA. Your severe weather risk is quite low over there, and it's middling or marginal the farther south and west you go. But there's so much wind shear in the atmosphere today that we've had to pay attention to it, and so we wanted to get this live stream up and running this evening just in case things got a little bit interesting. I see nothing right now that's a real player as far as the potential for damaging winds or large hail. Might be a little hail over towards New Philly and Dover and Bolivar. Over here in Tuscarawas County right now, some of this higher reflectivity in the northern part of Tuscarawas County and up towards the Stark County line. Might be a little small hail with that. It's not big hail, though. The Wind, yeah, everybody's been mentioning it's getting kind of breezy and kind of windy for sure. All that's, outside of any thunderstorm activity, it's just a general breeze. The winds associated with the showers and storms off to our west are subsevere. The definition of a severe thunderstorm is a storm that's producing winds in excess of 58 miles per hour. Why not 60? Why 58? Well, science. That's just the way it is. But that's the definition of a severe thunderstorm. It's a storm that's producing hail of 1-inch diameter or larger, and or winds of 58 miles per hour or greater, and or tornadoes. If it's producing a tornado but not hail, it's a severe thunderstorm. If it's producing strong winds but no hail, it's a severe thunderstorm. If it's producing big hail but not much wind, it's still a severe thunderstorm. Everything that's been out there this evening has been sub-severe across northeast Ohio. Southeast Ohio's had a couple of stronger cells, but so far so good in northeast Ohio. Colleen mentioning, when do you think they'll drop our watch? It runs until 10, with everything kind of moving more north than east right now, so the eastward progress is not super fast. They're probably going to leave it up until at least 9. At that point, maybe they'll be able to drop some counties, especially on the western side of the watch. But as it stands right now, the tornado watch runs until 10 o'clock this evening. I don't think they're going to cancel it super early, but I could see where they're going to start shaving some of these counties off. Before then, they've already replaced some counties that were under a tornado watch with a severe thunderstorm watch out towards Columbus. We may see that make some farther east progress. So some of these tornado watch counties may go to a severe thunderstorm watch. All that's kind of speculation on my part. I'm not in the hot seat of the National Weather Service, but again, the original tornado watch runs until 10 p.m. this evening. This is our first tornado watch of 2022 so far. It won't be our last, that is for sure. Around here, tornado watches are not nearly as common as severe thunderstorm watches, but we've got a setup today that's pretty conducive for spinning in the atmosphere. And this is a setup that we see a little more often in kind of the fringe months. Today reminds me almost of a late October, early November day, because we have a lot of cold air aloft, we've got a lot of wind shear, and not a lot of instability. It's not crazy humid. It's not like May or June where it can be really humid and really warm. It gets into the 80s. It's not one of those days. It's more of a cold season severe weather day. And oftentimes we see those with a little uptick in severe weather in the fall season. In fact, we saw that last fall with some pretty big severe weather events across our region late in the fall season, October especially. So this is the kind of setup that we see a little more often in kind of those border seasons, not the heart of spring or the heart of summer. So again, severe thunderstorm or tornado watch, I should say, runs until 10 o'clock this evening. All right, so that's where things stand right now. I'm going to hang with this live stream for a few more minutes, make sure that nothing squirrely happens, and then I'm going to stop it with the caveat that we'll hop back on the live stream if needed this evening, if we do get anything that looks a little more interesting. Right now, though, nothing is really getting my attention that looks like an imminent threat. The nearest decent-looking storm is this one along I-77 from Dover up to Canton, right along I-77. That's a deluge with some pretty vivid thunder and lightning, and it's moving in that direction. So, this heavier storm might try to impact parts of Mahoning County, maybe northwestern Columbiana, maybe parts of western Trumbull. If it holds together, it's going to head into that more stable environment, though, the farther north and east it goes. So it'll be interesting to see if it can hold itself together. But well, it looks like a pretty decent storm, and no doubt it's raining cats and dogs, and maybe there's even some pea-sized hail with this. The wind does not look especially strong with this, so I'm not real concerned about a severe thunderstorm warning coming out of that anytime real soon, but we'll keep a close eye on it for sure. The biggest players right now are down here in southeast Ohio with a hail and wind threat from Cambridge on south towards the West Virginia state line, again along I-77 towards Parkersburg, Marietta. Weather Service in Cleveland is starting to peel off some counties from the severe thunderstorm watch out in northwest Ohio. So we're starting to see some counties being dropped out here. You can see those blinking counties. Those have been left in, but they've peeled away some of the counties out here. So no longer in a severe thunderstorm watch in northwest Ohio. But they're going to continue the severe thunderstorm watch north of Columbus and continue the tornado watch. Cleveland is for the counties that you see blinking in red. Cleveland covers Stark County and Mahoning County. The Pittsburgh National Weather Service office covers Columbiana County in our area, covers Lawrence County in our area, and Mercer County as well. Cleveland covers Mahoning and Trumbull in our area. And that's why sometimes you see, whether it be something as innocuous as a dense fog advisory or something as serious as a tornado watch or a warning, that's why sometimes you see some discontinuities in the times of those products, in weird continuities. Some counties are under those products and some aren't. That's because our area falls between those two weather service offices. In other words, we're served by both of them in our television viewing area. And sometimes a decision Pittsburgh makes doesn't necessarily correspond to a decision that Cleveland will make when it comes to issuing a product. Not to say one is right and one is wrong, but sometimes the judgment of those individual forecasters can be a little bit different. So anyway, long-winded way of saying that we're covered by two weather service offices, and sometimes that's why you see some discontinuity in our region. Tamara asking, where is the best place in the basement? In the middle. The best place to go in the basement, if you have a basement and you're going to seek shelter, let me bring up one of my graphics here. Away from windows is definitely the most preferred place to be. And even if you don't have a basement, if you just are in your interior-most room, putting as many walls between you and the outside as possible, that's what we want you to do. Now, if you are in the basement, the same holds true as far as windows go. If you're going to seek shelter from a tornado in your basement, if your basement does have windows, and many do, they tend to be pretty small, but some basements do have windows, stay as far away from those windows as you can. You don't want to put yourself in danger of broken glass being an issue. And so if you find yourself going down into the basement, stay away from the windows. Oftentimes under a stairwell is a good place to be, because that tends to be towards the middle of your basement in some circumstances, not all, but some. And overall, just the basement is the best place to be. If you don't have a basement, interior room, away from windows, put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. A lot of times that means a closet, an interior hallway closet. Sometimes it's a bathroom. If your bathroom's in an interior room and doesn't have windows, that's a good place to be. The most important thing is put as many walls between you and the outdoors as possible if you're going to be seeking shelter from a tornado. Now, if you live in an apartment building and you live, say, in an upper floor of an apartment building, the best advice I can give you is to make friends with your downstairs neighbors. If you live on the 5th floor of an apartment building, that's pretty high, and you don't want to be that high if severe weather is threatening. So make friends with someone down on the 1st floor so that you can seek shelter down there, hopefully, in the event that you need to. Bake your downstairs neighbors some brownies, some cupcakes. Take them down. Say, hey, if we have a tornado warning, can I seek shelter with you guys? It's a good idea if you live in an apartment building. That's what you want to do. If you find yourself out and about shopping, even in your car, if you're able to drive away from a tornado, that of course is most advisable. But sometimes you might be stuck in traffic. Finding a low spot, finding a ditch, something like that is a good place to be, and oftentimes preferable to being in your car. If you live in a mobile home, you got to get out of there. No mobile homes. And so if that means driving to a gas station, a convenience store, a mall, a store of some kind, the grocery store, whatever, someplace that is not a mobile home, that's where you want to go if you live in a mobile home and you're seeking shelter from a tornado. John mentioning getting in the bathtub. That's also something that can be recommended, especially if your bathroom does not have windows. If you get in a bathtub and cover your head, some people put on a helmet, and I think that's great, a bicycle helmet, a baseball helmet. Some people even drag a mattress into their bathroom and lay in the bathtub with a mattress. That's fantastic. That's a great way to protect yourself. Again, especially if your bathroom's kind of an interior room and doesn't have windows. If your bathroom has a lot of windows and is kind of on the edge of the house, maybe it's not as good of an idea. That's where maybe a closet, or especially if you have a basement, that would be better. All that being said, we're going to keep an eye on things this evening, but I think I'm going to stop the live stream for now, catch my breath a little bit, and if conditions warrant, we'll hop back on the live stream this evening and keep you up to date on what's going on. But for now, I'm going to sign off the live streams. Thanks for hanging with me. Thankfully, things are pretty quiet right now. We'll have some showers and storms this evening. We'll keep an eye on things. But as of right now, I'm not super concerned that we're going to have a lot of severe weather before this evening is through. So have a great rest of your evening, and I will see you later this evening on social media and on 21 News at 11.